guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a quick unboxing and color swatching of the new Too Faced Love Light Prismatic Highlighters and Natural Love Eyeshadow Palette. As always, I'm going to be doing my swatches during the daylight, so I will zoom in tight so you can see everything very close up and see the clean swatches on my arm. And technically, I guess I'm swatching on my face because I am wearing Blinded by the Light as we speak, and look at that guy. So pretty. And everything on my eyes is actually from the Natural Love palette. So I'm hoping to get a tutorial out on this soon, but I gotta play with all of these because I can't decide what I want to do the tutorial on yet because there's so many shades. There are 30 eyeshadows in this palette. Everyone's kind of calling this the holy grail of natural or naked or neutral palettes. So if you have a lot of neutral palettes but you don't really feel like there's one palette that has everything in it, including like a matte all over, a flat black shadow, kind of everything in one palette, this has everything. I can say that with confidence that this one literally has everything in it. Now, as a little bonus, I actually have the new Too Faced brow pencils too that I'm going to swatch at the end of the video. I'm going to do a little swatch side-by-side comparison of these to the Anastasia brow definer, as that seems to be the most similar product that I have to compare this to. So I'm going to do a little side-by-side of that so you can see these as well. Okay, let's get started with the shadow palette. This is probably the most elegant packaging I've ever seen from Too Faced. It looks like a romantic English garden. It's beautiful, it looks very springy. This is the glamour guide. You'll usually find glamour guides in all of the eyeshadow palettes from Too Faced, but this one is much more extensive and actually goes over kind of the history of the shadow palettes that have brought this palette together. Here are the swatches. I don't know how in the world I fit all 30 shades on my arm, but I did. As you can see, there is a great shade range of warms and cools. It's varied from everything from champagne to soft pinks to mauves to charcoals, peaches, bronze, brown, everything you could imagine in the world of neutrals. And then it also does have that great vanilla all over shade that works on most skin tones, and then a matte black shadow. So when you really want to take it up a notch, you already have that shade in there as well. So it really is a palette that has everything in it. Now, I will say that this palette is much heavier on metallics and shimmers than it is matte. So if you are more of a matte fan, I would stick with the original natural matte palette from Too Faced because it's going to give you a really great selection of shades all in these tones, but they're going to all be matte. If you want to take it up a notch and you do like having that variation of metallics and shimmers, this palette has 15 metallics, 8 shimmers, and 7 matte shades. And I've tried to give you a variation where you can see this in different natural lighting so you can really get a great take on the textures and the finishes of the products. This palette retails for $59. It's available online and in stores, and it is limited edition. Next, we have the Love Light highlighters. As you can see, the packaging here reflects the shade that is inside, and it also has a prismatic effect on the outside packaging. The compact itself is a lightweight plastic compact, just like the Sweethearts blushes, except inside you will find these almost look more like a baked highlighter. They're three-dimensional, and they have the emblem or the logo for Too Faced stamped into the actual product, and then also have that great prismatic three-dimensional effect in the powder itself. These retail for $30. They're available online and in stores now. The finish of the products, as we go to the swatches here in just a moment, are going to be more of a soft pearly finish. They are meant to be buildable so that you can get more intensity from them. These are applied dry. I did do 3 layers with a synthetic brush on top of fresh foundation so that you could really see the colors. The idea being that you get a really pretty soft pearl radiant glow. Okay guys, so as promised, I have the new chocolate Brownie brow pencils from Too Faced. Now, if you are not familiar with a lot of the Too Faced products, they usually have a scent to a lot of the eyeshadow palettes that are themed with the palettes. There's the chocolate palettes and they all smell like chocolate. The peach palette smells like peaches. So these actually do smell a little bit like Brownie, but if you're not into the scent, keep in mind, it's just a brow pencil, so it's not super strong, so you're not gonna smell a lot of it on the brow. I'm gonna do a live swatching of these and do a little side-by-side comparison of a couple of brow pencils that I really enjoy with this so you can just see the different textures. Now, as I'm opening these, let's go over the packaging. So it comes in just a normal box cardboard packaging. It reads Too Faced Chocolate Brownie, and Brownie being the way that it's spelled, so for brows. It also says 12-hour wear cocoa powder brow pencils. So this is boasting a 12-hour wear. Now, I've not had a chance to wear these that long yet, so I'm curious to see how long these do wear, but I am all about a long wearing brow pencil. I'm gonna unbox a few of these and go over the colors with you so that you can actually see some of the shade range. We do have a spoolie on one end, which is great. I think that's crucial when it comes to brow pencils. And on the other side, you can see we have that great triangle shape to get a really crisp, defined line. The first time I saw this type of pencil was from the Anastasia Brow Definer, so I am gonna do a little side-by-side swatching of this, like I said earlier, so that you can compare these. Now I'm all zoomed in and probably a little out of focus on my face, but let's go ahead and do some live swatching of these brow pencils. I'm gonna be starting with the shade Soft Brown. Good pigmentation. The texture seems to be in between a cream and a powder. Not too waxy. I hate super waxy brow pencils. It's probably my least favorite thing about a brow pencil, but I also don't like them too creamy and I don't like them too powdery. So that in between is usually ideal. This is the shade Deep Brown. So soft brown's definitely gonna be for somebody who is more blonde, dark blonde, light brown hair. That's who I would typically pair this with. And you always want to base it off the color of the brow or the darkest shade at your natural root. The dark brown I would recommend for someone who is more true brunette, really dark hair, even black hair. I typically don't like going to a true black on the brow because it tends to look more blue or really harsh on the brow. I think this is gonna be a great neutral undertone shade for a brunette. Now this I was excited about. There is an actual auburn. So for someone with strawberry blonde, red hair, or even red highlights, this is the auburn. And that's a good auburn. It's not too red, it's not gonna look too pink, and it's also not too orangey. Most of the time I find they tend to go just a little pink on the skin, especially when somebody's super fair, like most true redheads are, but that's a beautiful auburn. And then of course, here's my shade. This is Taupe. So this is gonna be kind of a neutral blonde taupe shade. Let me zoom that in there. So there are the colors. That taupe is a great taupe too. Again, not too gray, not too yellow, not too ashy. So really great color selection, and I'm really pleased with how well these went on. Really like that texture. Okay, so while I'm all zoomed in all tight so that you can see, I'm gonna show you some of my favorite brow pencils and we'll do a little comparison of these. This is the Le Crayon Poudre, however you pronounce this. I never get this one right when it comes to these French names. It's by Lancome. I've used this for probably 15 years. And for me, as somebody who's really bald on their brows, this has always been a great go-to. I'm gonna swatch down here a little bit differently. Now, these are almost 100% powder. So I usually combine these with another pencil, but because they're powdery, whenever you're bald on the brow, the texture of these looks super natural. So you can see a little bit of the difference. This is obviously much more powdery, so again, great for those kind of bald areas, but it's not gonna give that same coverage that these will. So I'm really pleased with the amount of coverage that we're seeing from the Too Faced one, because this is really truly one of my favorite brow pencils. In the world of waterproof pencils, it's hard to beat the Brow Power Perfector from IT Cosmetics. I'm having some focusing issues. This little guy stays on like nobody's business. Now it is much creamier, which makes it a little bit more difficult because it's kind of in between like a pomade and a powder and a cream and all of these different products all in one, which is really truly amazing in a brow pencil. And I'm a huge fan of this pencil, so don't get me wrong with that. The texture of this though is much creamier. So if you have really full brows, this is probably not gonna be best for you because it is so creamy that you may find that it's too much in your brow. But for somebody that's bald like me, this is a great waterproof pencil. So you can see this is much, much creamier, much more pigmented. So again, much powdery, much more creamy. This is kind of a combination of the two. Ooh, Lord. I got an eyelash lifting. It's been a day. Hang on, we can fix that real quick since I'm all nice and zoomed in so y'all can see that, because Lord knows somebody will be telling me later that my eyelash was lifting. Okay, last but not least, I have the Brow Definer from Anastasia. Now, as you can see, the Brow Definer has that similar shape, that triangular shape. I do find that this one does not wear as long, which was kind of my beef with this one, is I found that if I rubbed up against anything, it came right off. And it's also a little bit harder texture, so great for someone who has a lot of brow, but doesn't always work for me. So as you can see, I'm really having to bear down to apply it, which is great if you have a lot of brow and you just need that little extra definition, maybe just in the outside corner of the brow. And the texture of this one looks really nice on. It's a really nice pencil. However, you do notice how much more effort I'm having to put into getting that to go on. So this is the taupe in the Too Faced Chocolate Brownie pencil, and then this is the taupe in the Anastasia. Now on, it's really hard to tell the difference in those colors. They are very similar. And the texture is actually very similar too, so it compares nicely to the Anastasia brow definer, but I found this to go on much, much easier. So this just gives you a little bit of a comparison guide here, so that way you can have a little bit more education if you are trying to choose which one is going to be right for you. But I'm very pleased with how these have gone on. I just went to wipe these like with a tissue, and I noticed these were staying on really, really well. So I'm assuming that this 12-hour wear is something that is legit. All right guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope that it was helpful if you're interested in investing in any of these products, so you could see the colors and textures and make sure this is something that is what you're looking for. And be sure to click that subscribe button. I'm sure I'm going to be using this palette in some upcoming videos. I think it's perfect for spring bride, for prom, for just any of those looks where you need something neutral but that still has a little pop, a little shimmer, some versatility to it. So I'm sure we'll be seeing this one in some tutorials as well. Thanks so much guys. Hope to see you back soon.